Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Marvel film, The Eternals. This film is getting pretty divided reviews so far on Rotten Tomatoes and things like that. I'm actually kind of in the opinion, for those who just want to know right off the bat, since it has been a good solid week for this movie being out in theaters and everything, I kind of fall right in the middle. I think this film is okay. There's people who seem to really, really like this movie, and there's people who seem to really, really don't like this movie. I think it's actually currently the lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes movie right now, I want to say, too. So there's a lot of people who really didn't like this movie. I'm kind of in the middle here on this one, but for those who don't know anything about the Eternals, basically they're these beings that have lived on Earth for the entire time Earth has been around, and over the course of centuries, they take out these creatures called deviants. These deviants apparently cannot be taken out by humans. They can't be taken out by superheroes like the Avengers team or anything like that. And so basically, over the course of history, they have to take out these deviants. They have to let people kind of evolve and make their mistakes, let them grow, let them develop. But basically, their pure existence on Earth is to take care of these deviants, to kind of supervise Earth, make sure everything's going okay and everything. And if things are going bad, they have people kind of have to learn from their mistakes. They can't interfere. And each Eternal kind of has their own set of superpowers. Like one will have super strength, one will have mind control, and things like that. So there are certain characters that are kind of responsible for certain things. I think one of them's even a coach as far as how technology was created and things like that. And so over the course of this film, basically these deviants get really out of control after the Thanos snap from Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. The deviants have kind of really gotten out of control. Uh, it's one of those things where not just one Eternal can take them out, a whole band of the Eternals have to take them out now. And so over the course of this film, they have to take out all these deviants, and they kind of learn from their own mistakes, as well as these deviants are really strong now, and they have to figure out how to exactly take these deviants out before they could potentially take the planet Earth out too. So overall, guys, I thought Eternals was okay. It's one of those films where um, it is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think there's parts of it that need to feel more like it's a part of a Marvel movie. It's just one of those things where, as I was watching it, I kind of had a hard time believing that Captain America and Thor and Iron Man and all those characters were a part of this world as well. It's just one of those Marvel movies where you can definitely tell they were trying to do a lot of creative, different things with it, to kind of mixed results as well, unfortunately. But for my positives and negatives of Eternals, I thought overall the Eternals as a team, whenever they worked together, I thought was very strong here. I really liked how they worked together as a team and kind of worked for a cause and things like that. Whenever they're working together, they definitely does feel like stronger parts of the movie where they're taking out the deviants together, they're working together, they're kind of bantering off of each other and things like that. So I thought whenever the Eternals are working as a team together, not necessarily as individuals, but as a team, I think the film kind of works better as a result. I thought Gemma Chan's character was very well developed here. She's actually kind of the lead character of this film as well. I liked her purpose. I liked kind of her hand-me-down qualities of a responsibility that she didn't have at the beginning of the film, but something that she's given to her later on in the movie based off of this god creature that gives her more responsibilities as an Eternal. I like her conflicts as a character. Um, there's definitely a lot of things going on with her, with people she's fell in love with in the past, how they kind of fell out, and how she has a hard time kind of moving on to other people that do want to pursue a relationship with her and things like that. So I really liked Gemma Chan's purpose and conflicts that her character faces throughout the movie. They made the wise decision of kind of making her the lead character of this movie, if there really is one. Um, I thought the Eternals, their fight for a better Earth and a better humanity, I thought was very strong here too. There's just a lot of scenes here where you can definitely just tell deep in their heart that they wanted to have more involvement with people's development and have more of a voice as far as letting people learn from the wars and letting people learn from the Thanos snap and letting people learn from civil wars and things like that. But as Eternals, because they are more of a supervising capacity, they can't do that. But they are there to kind of make sure that the deviants aren't interfering with their development and things like that. So I like the film's conflict of they want a better Earth, they want a better humanity, but they're there to just kind of protect people from deviance. And so the film kind of asks the question of should Eternals do more? Should they kind of betray the gods that made them and should they be allowed to do more than what they are able to do? And there's a lot of questions and scenarios over this film where you kind of ask yourself as viewers is there more they should be doing, and is there more they could be doing too? I thought Chloe Zhao's filmmaking abilities here were pretty, for the most part, on and off. But whenever her abilities as a filmmaker really help this movie, it obviously adds a much bigger, good boost to this movie. I really enjoyed her work on Nomadland. Unfortunately, Nomadland is a very different film from Eternals, so it's one of those things where her better qualities as a director aren't really transferred over here to a Marvel movie all that well. But as far as scenes as, good lighting and good settings, and she goes to quite a few different countries apparently in this movie, or at least the film wants you to believe that it's filmed in different countries. Um, she definitely is good about kind of making you a part of that place, letting you kind of breathe that place. If a character is living in that country or so forth, like making you really believe that they're doing something that that country would kind of accept them as, and things like that. So I liked her abilities to a Marvel movie. I thought that was kind of an intriguing idea to kind of take this indie director and put her into this big budget movie like this. It works to mixed results, but when her abilities kind of help this film a lot, I think it's very rewarding as a viewer for the movie. The film also has a good sense of humor to it. The actor from The Big Sick, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try it. But the lead actor from The Big Sick has a role in this movie, and I thought his character was very funny throughout the movie. He became this big Bollywood actor over the years, and that's kind of where he's been hiding over the years, is kind of pretending that he's kind of the grandfather and the father and the own son of this family that are a series of successful Bollywood actors and things like that. So there's definitely a sense of humor brought to the movie that definitely give the film a boost when it's taking itself maybe a little too seriously in certain moments, and there's kind of moments of levity with this other character that has a sense of humor, is trying to turn this experience into a documentary for himself and things like that. So the film does have a sense of humor that for the most part works pretty well. But for my negatives of Eternals, unfortunately, there is too many lead characters in this movie. There's about 10 Eternals in this movie. Unfortunately, not a lot of them get the screen time or the development that they need for us to kind of be invested in them as characters. I really wish this film could have just been about 4 or 5 Eternals, maybe, and just really kind of develop them well and have their perspective on the whole thing. And if the film did well, maybe introduce us to more Eternals after that. Unfortunately, they go with the decision of cramming all 10 Eternals into this movie, and unfortunately, not a lot of them get the screen time that they need to be developed as characters, unfortunately. I also thought more work was needed with the Deviants. For the most part, they're just kind of these vicious creatures that show up on Earth every once in a while, and for some reason the Avengers can't take them out, but the Eternals can. I thought more work could have been done with them. They're not very interesting as villains, unfortunately. I thought more could have been done with motivation and what exactly these deviants want and need, and why they feel the need to take out Earth and things like that. I thought more work could have been done with the deviants overall. This film also has a very long runtime, unfortunately. It runs about 2 hours and 37 minutes, I think. So it's very, very long. We're expected to kind of cram in and take in all this information at once, unfortunately. It's not a film where you can kind of just leave the room and expect to kind of know where the film is at when you come back, when you're like grabbing a bowl of ice cream or something. So it's definitely a film where it definitely requires your full attention at all times. It has a very long runtime, unfortunately, and I think this film would have benefited from an editing process that could have made the film a little bit shorter. And for the most part, too, there's a lot of clunky action scenes in this movie. You can just tell that Chloe Zhao doesn't have a lot of action film experience going into this movie. A lot of the action just felt kind of clunky, kind of uncomfortable. I really wish they kind of chose a director that had some more action film experience. Maybe Chloe Zhao could have done a small action movie before directing this movie. I don't really know what criteria that could have helped her make the best film possible for this, but as far as just kind of taking her from Nomadland and taking her over to this movie, unfortunately the action was kind of clunky this time around. And I just thought overall too, there's just not enough Marvel Universe elements here. Yeah, they reference the Thanos snap and things like that, but there's characters I think could have shown up throughout this movie that could have made it more interesting. Like I think Doctor Strange clearly probably could have known about the Eternals with him knowing about all the scenarios that happen on Earth and things like that. I think Doctor Strange easily could have been incorporated into this movie. I think Thor could have easily been incorporated into this movie. I think someone from the Guardians of the Galaxy universe could have been incorporated into this movie. Someone from the Captain Marvel story could have been incorporated into this movie. There's a lot of things they could have done, and it's just one of those things where I don't know, because we're in phase 4 now for Marvel, and it's just kind of hard to believe that there's not one character that knows about the Eternals and things like that at this point. It's kind of hard to believe that they're able to manage to stay that secretive over the years. So I thought that aspect was kind of not so believable, and I kind of just wish that this film could have had more Marvel Universe qualities to it. And there's a lot of scenes too where I was kind of at war with myself about why can't the Avengers just take out the Deviants? Yeah, clearly, like the film establishes the rule right away that the Eternals are the only people that can do it. But there's just a lot of scenes where it's just like, I think Thor could have done this just fine. I think Hulk could have taken on these creatures just fine. I think Doctor Strange could have taken out these creatures just fine. There's just a lot of scenes where I don't know why specifically the Eternals have to do it. And it's just one of those things where maybe the Eternals could have been incorporated into the Marvel Universe earlier. There could have been more reason behind that, but we're just kind of thrown into this Eternals thing very quickly as the film starts. And so there could have been more warranted as far as why the Eternals have to do it and why the Avengers can't. And overall, too, most of the Eternals just have pretty generic superpowers, unfortunately. One of them has super strength, one of them has super speed, one of them has mind control, one of them has shape shifting and can turn things into butterflies and things like that. There's just a lot of characters here that just kind of have boring superpowers, unfortunately. And if you're just going to introduce us to these huge important characters in this Marvel universe, if you really are going to introduce us to the Eternals, I think allowing us to kind of get to know the more interesting superpowered ones would have been a better choice overall for the story. But overall, I'm going to give Eternals a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's okay. It's not the worst thing Marvel's ever done, but certainly not one of their better outings either. There's good things about Eternals. There's just a lot of things about it too, like too many characters and more time could have been developed for the deviants. The long runtime is a little too long for something like this. The action scenes are very clunky. There's just not enough Marvel Universe elements to it. I still don't understand why the Avengers can't take out these deviants and why the Eternals have to do it. And just generic superpowers overall for these characters, and just more work could have been done creatively with that, I thought. But 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's okay. If you're a Marvel film, maybe check it out, kind of see if you fall in the category of like it or hate it. If you don't know anything about Marvel, if you're really not invested in Marvel at this point, I don't think Eternals is the right place to start. Maybe a Redbox rental at best for that, if that's kind of the category you fall into. For me personally, it's okay. I don't know if I'd go back to this movie very often, but Eternals is an okay enough experience where I think if you love the Marvel movies, it's worth checking out maybe at least once.